So after all of this work, we're now finally able to take advantage of this render as you fetch concept. So render as you fetch is referring to the fact that you fetch all of the data and the code while you're rendering the stuff that you're trying to get. And so let's go ahead and take this Pokemon info. We're going to remove it and we're going to just move it right over to this file that we have here in source lazy Pokemon info render as you fetch. And so now that it's in there, let's pretend that maybe this is a really big thing. We wanted to code split it for some reason. So I'm going to come back over here, and instead of just having it coded out right here, we're going to pull in Pokemon info from a react.lazy call. And this is going to be a dynamic import for lazy Pokemon info render as you fetch. So let's go ahead and try that out. I'm going to open up my network tab. We're going to do a hard reload here with an empty cache. And then I'm going to go to a slow 3G and we'll clear all this out and we'll go Pikachu. A couple things happened here. First, we kicked off that GraphQL request. We kicked off a request to get Pikachu. We kicked off a request to get Pikachu's image. And then we also kicked off a request to get the code necessary for displaying this information. And that's the whole idea behind render as you fetch. It's take a look at your waterfall and see how far you can move things over to the left. This is particularly interesting when we're talking about lazily loading code, because so often we actually lazily load the code before we actually request the data. And then once we request the data, that's going to come back with more data that we need to request, and we have a really big waterfall effect there. So by kicking off all of the requests for data and code that we know we need as soon as we have the information we need to get that data and those assets, we can significantly improve the performance of our application. And again, if you want to play around with this idea a little bit more, we do have the examples right here with the 3 different fetch approaches that I invite you to take a look at. In particular, on this lazy example, we have this Pokemon info render as you fetch data file. Now, one of the reasons we like to do fetch on render is because it means that we can include all of our data requirements inside of the component that's using them, which means that we get benefits from co-location. And when you do render as you fetch, you have to start fetching the data that you need and the assets as soon as you have the information you need to get it, which often means you're going to be doing that in the parent. And so we lose the benefits of co-location. But what you can do is separate those in 2 different files, where this one will be lazily loaded with react.lazy and dynamic imports, and this one can be imported directly as we're doing right here. So we have a direct import for the way we get the data, and then we have a lazy import for the heavy code necessary for our UI. So you can have your cake and your users can eat it too.